Hello and welcome to the upper deck. I'm Lynn, and right next to me is my co-host Ciarra. So Ciarra, it's 3 days past the day of doom. How are you feeling?
I'm wearing black because I'm still in mourning. Um, I I was in shock after Game Five because we literally beat ourselves. The Dodgers did not beat us in Game Five. The Yankees beat the Yankees in Game Five. I'm pretty sure I received more condolence texts for the Yankees losing than I received texts on my birthday because it was just like everyone couldn't wait to tell me, "Wow, the Yankees really blew it." It was I don't even know. Like, it was so sad because Aaron Judge finally woke up and remembered how to hit a baseball, and then he forgot how to catch a routine pop up in the outfield, and that's kind of what started, the crumbling. Um, the Yankees have a lot to prove next season, and they need to make some big moves if we're gonna contend and get back to the World Series and actually win this time.
Yeah, and we know that in terms of Yankees making big moves, we're always more than skeptical because history has shown us that they always take the football away from us when we're about to punt. I always think of Charlie Brown and Lucy. Like, we're right there. They're gonna do this, and then nope, not gonna happen. And so, I think again, we're gonna have to expect that. But, um, you know, holy moly, I'm not ready for hot stove. Couldn't we have had like lukewarm off-season moment? And already so much news coming out. I know tomorrow is somewhat of a day that I expected with the QOs being, having to be tendered. But so let's just start with that. But first I want to say hey to everyone in the chat that's here. First of all, thanks for always rolling with us on our change in times. um we really appreciate that whatever alarm you got set or whatever means that you really are with us and always here no matter when we have to appear. So thanks for that. So hey numbers guy, that's just what I'm or gal. Hey numbers person, that's what I always call you. Hey, O1. First one here, Lori, I'm sorry you lost your first attendee award. I mean, you were on such a streak. But hello to Lori, and Lori wants to tell us that MLB opening day is March 27th, and that is only 145 days away. So that seems like forever. But I also know that I mean, if we're already off to the races with hot stove discussions, then I think we're going to have a lively. I think there's positioning all over the team with free agency and opt outs that the ball's already rolling. And hey, Karen, and let's see who else is here. FJ, Gregory, wow, thanks so much. And Shayna, great to see you. And yeah, hey, great to see you. That the 161. I almost moved you 10 blocks. Um, so and Brad is here. Great to see you. And Nosebleed. Hey, it's been a minute. Great to have you here. And yeah, like, so let's get this over with. Um, is anyone surprised? Um, I think that this kind of is the answer to the question I was going to ask first, which is was this a failing season? Which mentality do you have? The Yankees seem to have the mentality of, hey, he's still our guy, and look, he finally got us to a World Series. We're not going to let go of him. So what side of that philosophical fence are you, Ciarra?
So I defended Boone for most of the season because I felt like a lot of the moves that he made weren't actually his call. And then in the AL DS and the ALCS, he proved to us that he actually knows how to do things, and he made some pretty good
Yes.
managerial moves.
Yes.
However, in the World Series, he was outmanaged by Dave Roberts, and it he was a failure. I don't this might upset people. I don't think of the whole season as a failure because out of 30 teams, only 2 make it to the World Series, and we were one of the 2. So I see that as a huge accomplishment. However, the World Series itself was a failure, and our manager failed us. So I thought the Yankees would move on from him if we had lost and bring him back if we had won. They were so quick to fire Girardi. I mean, why not fire Boone and move on? It's not like
Seriously.
you can only do the same thing for so long.
At least this firing would have made sense.
Mhm.
To me, Girardi's firing, and I mean, I'm not entirely objective. I'm a bandwagoner of Girardi for decades, but that didn't make sense to me. And so Gregory Wayne says it's a failure. Lori says it's a failure. Nosebleed is saying, not a failure because of our record and we made the World Series. Yeah, and that's the thing. Right up until the postseason and through the DS and CS, we were not a failure. We were a threat. And really, the Dodgers were. It's not that the frustrating thing to me is that we weren't overmatched.
No.
At all. And they had shortcomings that we had the ability to make up for on our end. But there were, and Ciarra, you mentioned one of them. There were 2 consequential moments that brought us on. One was, and boy, every show that does Yankees content talked about this, including us. But bringing Nestor in when they did.
Listen, if you look at the stats, it wasn't even bringing Nestor in. Why would you walk Mookie Betts, who hadn't done anything in the game up to that point, who is
Yes,
0 for 5 against Nestor Cortez, who hadn't pitched in a month, by the way, to face
yes,
Freddie Freeman, who's batting like 2,000,000% against left-handed hitters
yes.
in clutch moments? Like, what? We literally pay these nerds who sit in the dugout with their iPads to literally just know these numbers. So the fact that nobody knew this or they just chose to ignore it, that was a failure. That right there was a huge failure. Sorry. I just
Yep. Yeah. No, and to me it's both. Because for those things, like you don't put Nestor in that like really high leverage situation
right.
after he's been in and out all season and had his first like outing on September 18th when coming back. So which wasn't even a great outing. So and yes, everything you said about then, walking Betts and bringing up the not only made World Series MVP, but the National League MVP up to bat. Yeah. So and Lori 100%. Um, and that was really about the last game, right? I mean,
Not,
it was we saw it throughout from people that surprised us and didn't see it from people that were always harping on that wouldn't surprise us.
Gleyber
And
Torres.
Ciara is smiling for a reason, so go ahead and
Uh,
say it, Ciara.
I'm not like I don't want to be right because I wanted the Yankees to win. But it's funny, all season everyone said Gleyber Torres was going to lose us the World Series with his bad defense. But game 5, when we were at 5-0, it was everybody else who crumbled. Aaron Judge had made an error all season and then all of a sudden forgot how to catch a routine pop-up in center field. Anthony Rizzo has 4 gold gloves. Gerrit Cole should know to cover first base if Rizzo can't get there. Volpe and Jazz, I don't know what they were doing. It was everybody but Gleyber Torres made an issue in the infield. But also, it wasn't just game 5. Luis Rojas is a terrible third base coach, and he needs to be fired because if you're going to send Stanton home from third when Teoscar Hernandez is in left field, what are we doing? Like, that was the dumbest send in the history of sends. And I've harped on Rojas all season because he's made bad sends with Glaber in other guys in the past. He's had issues with Soto with sends in the past. But to send Stanton, who was literally the slowest person on our team, you just ruined what could have been a moment for us.
Yep. And there's others that I think should go. I think the quicker way to say it in terms of the coaching staff is keep Matt Blake and get rid of everybody else.
I don't even want to keep Matt Blake, if I'm being honest, because okay, so this is hot topic mode. Matt Blake is great with relievers, in my opinion. Clearance rack relievers, Tim Hill, Tim Mesa, guys like that. But what has he done for our starting pitchers lately? Gerrit Cole seems to be the guy who's coaching the starting pitchers, and that's not his job.
Okay, yeah, I accept that. But who would we replace? Or do they split this up more, so that there's more focus on the bullpen for Blake and bring someone else on for the starters? Because the pen needs some upgrading, and so it's good to know that he's working there. But I'm worried about the starting rotation. I think that we were put together, even for the World Series, we were kind of put together with duct tape and spit. And so, and now we have Cole declining the opting out rather. And so that was one of the breaking news items this morning. So, how's everyone feeling about? Let's talk about Cole, and then we'll talk about Rizzo.
So, okay, so I have a beef with Cole right now, okay? You didn't do anything this season to earn more money. And I understand this is when his opt out was eligible, so I guess it makes sense for him to do it right now. But let's say his opt out was after 2023. It made sense then. It would make sense then because he just came off a Cy Young, right? But to do it now in 2024 when you were kind of injured, you didn't really pitch most of the season. You didn't pitch the same way you did in 2023 when you did come back. And in the World Series, in game 1, you weren't exactly sharp. And then in game 5, you kind of made some mistakes too. So I don't know. I think he's asking for too much. I don't think the Yankees will let him walk because they're stupid if they do, because at the end of the day, he is still our ace, but I don't think he's earned more money, in my opinion.
Right. But, they don't hold on to him. That makes Rodon our ace. And that makes me more nervous than just about anything I could think of in my life, so at the moment. And we have a couple of Dodger fans in the chat. So hey to BC, and hey to Roy Estrada. Oh, you know what? We're always glad to have other fan bases in the chat. And so, but with all due respect, I think Cole is a situation where the Yankees are gonna pony up. When you look at the free agent market currently, and Ciarra and I were talking about this before we jumped on. It is not. There are a lot of free agent pitchers from teams that made it really far this season, but they're old. We literally, the majority of them are in their mid 30s. And so are we really going to go for that rather than, regardless of the name and the team, rather than Cole, and keep with what we know? So I'm not even sure that free agency would be a thing to dip into to even, and let's not forget, we still didn't see Nestor. The last we saw Nestor was in the pen. We don't know what they're going to do with Nestor. Will we need another starter? Because they're viewing Nestor. Will they continue to view Nestor more of a bullpen guy? But and FJ saying, wasn't Cole opting out expected?
No, I mean, not for me. I can't speak for other people. I just feel like, to me, it feels like a slap in the face after the season he had.
Yep. And my first question to Ciarra was, is he a Boris guy? Because I couldn't remember. And I'm like, okay, well then this makes sense. So they're looking to for higher dollar amount, and will there be other teams bidding in on him? I would say yes. I mean, It was only two seasons ago that he was a Cy Young. He's got that under his belt. So I think there's going to be competition there, and the Yankees don't do so well with bidding wars. They move on to the dumpsters instead. So it does have me a little bit nervous. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Lori. There's no doubt. Um, and to give a very Cole-like glare at Rizzo was just uncalled for. And because he was accountable for that too. Rizzo shouldn't have watched the ball come to him. I know the phrase "let the ball come to me" was uttered by a few people, but that was at the plate when for the guys that were swinging at nothing. I have to learn to let the game come to me. No, didn't apply here. And he didn't charge that ball, and that goes back to Lori's point, and I think everyone would agree that the fundamentals are the Achilles heel of this team, and that's not new, and that was all season. But um, what who can we get to address that? Our friend Chris Vitale said, "Well, really, that's Boone. Boone is the one that's supposed to be working on the fundamentals with people." Well, you know what? In that, I don't trust. So, um, their baseball IQ plummeted um in the postseason for sure. It was bad news bear season, and the series didn't end the way the movie did. So that's a big disappointment.
It also just kind of seemed like the Dodgers meshed better as a team. Like the Yankees, their team just didn't look like they were on the same page at all throughout the World Series, just with the mistakes that they were making. Whereas the Dodgers were they were very cohesive. And it was hard to watch because in that moment with the Cole and Rizzo situation, from an outsider's perspective, Gerrit Cole looked like a bad teammate.
Yeah, and it's not the first time.
Right.
Um, so this is where Cole and Rodon are twins with their preschool behavior, and it needs to stop. It's so unprofessional. Hey TC, what about Cole's sign that says "Forever a Yankee"? Well, you know, um, words are cheap when the dollar signs are high. Um, and it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, so Cole, Burns, Snell, Alonso, all Boras make
Soto.
yep, and Soto. And so yeah, so you're really money locked there. They're going to this is going to be there's going to be no answer on Cole anytime soon at all. That's going to be dragathon. So will Soto.
Well, they have to make a decision on Cole's opt-in/out by tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Right, and the same is true for the qualifying offer,
Yeah.
right? Which
Mhm.
which
No,
which
the
Soto,
qualifying offer they have until Monday to tender.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was what you said tomorrow about the other one, but again, I'm very tired too. So anyway, yes. So but then the bidding war is just going to go on and on for either of them. And Corbin Burns, and FJ had a good point, 4 years younger than Cole. Um,
Mhm.
and we've wanted him every postseason, available or not. We've talked about Burns in the offseason, but I don't know. These are money guys. Snell, I think, is off the table. I think I read that this morning. Is he
Did
not?
he so I know yesterday he opted out. Did he opt in today or do something today?
I thought I read something about that, but I'm not going to misspeak. Um, I
Let me see if
do
there's any updates.
um
There's been so much happening in the last like 24 hours.
it's been dizzying, and I didn't expect it. And then what about and so Alonso, like you mentioned, you know, first base is open. Do we go for Alonso? And imagine that bidding war with I think Cohen will spend any kind of money to keep Alonso?
So I think it's really going to depend on what happens with Soto because Pete Alonso's going to cost money too. He's a Boras client, and just who he is, the numbers he's put up in other seasons. As much as I don't like the guy, he's a good baseball player. So I think it really comes down to how much money do we or do we not spend on Soto, and how much does that free up? Because we have a lot of holes, right? You have to address not just first base, but now we're talking if we let Gleyber Torres walk, are you moving Jazz to second and then filling a hole at third, or are you leaving Jazz at third and filling a hole at second? Or if you sign Gleyber, what is going on with Jazz? Is he going to third, or is he now going to the outfield because he can play both? Alex Verdugo, I think we're all on the same page that he's probably going to walk regardless because we have Jason Dominguez. And then if Soto does walk, how do we address right field? And then if Cole for some reason walks, we need a starter. And then we also need bullpen pieces. There is a lot of things that the Yankees have to address right now. And it's going to be an interesting offseason.
Yep. And one of the holes in the bullpen automatically is Clay Holmes, because
Yeah.
he's in free agency now. So this jigsaw puzzle, I think that Boone is going to have a blast with all of these pieces and who to get and go where. So all right, so Cole was the big one, and so we started to talk. I just brought up Alonso, and hey, Jean, sorry, yeah, Burns is 4 years younger. Good to see you here, and I also want to say hi to Greg and John. Thanks for joining us today. And Willard, sorry I didn't see you come in, but yeah, okay. Well, no, thanks for the take. No disrespect taken. Lose Cole and get okay. So, and that's coming from a Houston fan. And that's where we got Cole from. Hey Joe, when did you sneak in? Good to see you. Yes, fundamentals is what lost us the series. Bad managing and fundamentals. And really, game five, that inning is going to be talked about forever. It's going to be one of those, reels on Gotham that used to be Yes. And it's going to be talked about. It was really one of the worst and most embarrassing moments in Yankee history. I think that's, to me, more than the concept of losing the World Series was easier to take than why we lost it and how we lost it. It was just an utter disgrace. And so, hey, Marquis, good to see you. Oh, good. We love having Dodger fans in the chat, especially ones that come here courteously. And so, thank you for this. Yeah. You have, first of all, congratulations. And if you got to the parade, I bet that was a blast. And thanks for joining. So, yeah, I think that's what the tie that binds across fan bases. Although you know what, there's a lot of people laughing their asses off at the Yankees, and we deserve it. And Cole was the best Yankee that series. He did. He had us locked up in both starts until when that play we just talked about.
I'm going to
Cole could have
respectfully
had that ball and that
disagree.
out at first. What?
I'm going to respectfully disagree with him. I don't think Cole was the best player in that series for us. I think you're discrediting Giancarlo Stanton. Anthony Volpe looked great in that series for the most part. And I think those two deserve a huge pat on the back for what they did. And then Soto looked okay in game 1 and 2, but honestly, he didn't show up for the rest of the 3 games.
So I'm sure Ciarra has a response to this, Brad, but I do also. You know what? If we are going to keep saying about Stanton that he is on this squad, deserves to be on the squad, is absolutely necessary to be on this team because of his postseason, then all evidence points to the same for Gleyber.
Mhm.
and so he was inconsistent for a good part of the season. I would say Ciarra's going to counterpoint in a minute, but his fundamentals have improved. I think if we went out of the subjective zone, they've improved since last season for sure. And once to me, the magic switch was when they put him in leadoff before the postseason.
Mhm.
Then it seemed like that's what he needed, was to be a leader in some way. And we saw both sides. We saw the bat lighting up and the plays not being blown, with a couple of exceptions throughout the postseason. But I think they are going to give him the QO, and I think that they are going to keep him. And yes, we have Jazz Chisholm, and we should absolutely keep Jazz Chisholm. And yes, Jazz Chisholm is a second baseman naturally. But we also still, if we're keeping Birdie and keeping Jazz, we still have that platoon there. We have Cabrera there as well. And so, but I'm sorry, Glaber's our second baseman, and I feel more confident about that than I've had. Go ahead, Ciara.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that there are more people leaning towards keeping Glaber now at this point. I've seen a lot more people online talking about QO and Glaber, or even offering him a 2-3 year contract. You have this 2024, Glaber played two different seasons. He played the first half terribly, and then the second half, he woke up, right? Like, second half, Glaber was a completely different player, and the numbers show that, and even the errors show that, the difference in errors from first half to second half.
Mm-hmm.
I still personally wonder if when he got hit in the hand on opening day in Houston, how that affected him, because we saw him come right back the next day with no time off. You could see that he had a different mentality too in the second half of the season, and moving him to the leadoff, it clicked for the whole Yankee offense when we made that switch. And in the postseason, he got on base more more times than you needed him to start off the game, to set up Soto, who then could set up Judge, who did not come through for us, by the way. So I think he was a huge part of this postseason, and I do believe he will be our second baseman. And there's some random person on Twitter that's going to owe me $100 when that does happen.
Yeah, and so right, FJ, that's the thing. There's so much mismatching and just putting square pegs in round holes. And you know what? I think Aaron Judge gets a lot that he asks for, and he laid down that demand about playing center field, and I would like that to revert back. And we still haven't used Dominguez, so that's a whole other thing to think about in this equation. And so that's another reason why I think Doogie is absolutely not going to be here next season. So oh, and Brad's saying that Snell opted out.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's why. Yeah, so I just couldn't find it in my notes here. I thought so. um and but not staying, but BC is saying not staying in San Francisco. Okay, so I guess we'll see who's going to grab him.
He's a Boris client too.
Yep, yep, and we know that Holmes is gone. Um, they could have him. Whoever wants him could have him. And so and Karen, I think you spelt it right the first time. Yep. But thanks for correcting it to Holmes. Yeah, lots of holes in his contribution to the team this year. Yeah, and I'm hoping so, Nosebleed. I hope that opt out was just a way to get the extra year. Um,
It is, but to me, that's what's selfish about it. It's selfish. You didn't, and I get it. These guys are here to make money, but like, you didn't do anything to deserve that extra year or that extra money after this season. Absolutely nothing.
yep. Hey, Frederick. Great to have you here today. if Soto leaves, Judge returns to right field. I think even if Soto stays, Judge should be back in right field. And yeah, I think Dominguez could do either, but if Soto stays, he's going to have to be in either center or left.
Well, I think that's something that the Yankees need to think about long term. If Soto stays, he's potentially in the future, he will be taking on the Stanton role of just being a DH. He's not a good outfielder. He's not the worst outfielder like there is, but he's not a good outfielder. There is literally a whole reel of Soto kicking the ball in right field, ball going over his head in right field, not being able to play it off the wall, and that's just not acceptable, in my opinion, especially if we're going to be a World Series contending team.
Yeah. Joe, hey, I wish Boone that's a lockdown. So we're stuck with them, like it or not. And yeah, I think to a man, to a woman, everybody could see why Rojas needs to go. So hopefully we'll see that. But and here is so Jing is saying if Yankees re-sign Soto and there are no deferrals, that AAV is going to be a killer. I mean, just by being a Boras client in itself, we know that, the pocket has to be really deep. But, the Yankees lie. They have money to spend, and they're offloading some guys automatically by not re-signing them. I think there'd be a shot heard around the world if they re-signed Doogie at this point. And so, as good as he is in the outfield, just other than, he did in the World Series start to show some life, kind of as promised, because that was his big thing. Just wait until the postseason. So he saw it at the very last minute, too much too late. So yeah, that's going to be the big money deal, and will they pay, that level of money? They opened up big pockets to get him here for that year, so I'm hoping so. But expect the unexpected always.
Yeah, there's also, Tommy Kahnle and Tim Hill as free agents, and as good as Tim Hill is, he's not worth $22 million. I mean, he's a great clearance rack guy, which is crazy that he came from a team who was literally the worst team in baseball and did what he did for us in the playoffs. He was fantastic. Tommy Kahnle also was a great. Our bullpen in general, I think, looks actually really good in the playoffs. But
yeah,
Tommy Kahnle posted this very huge ominous message on his Discord account recently. I'm not sure if he's planning on retiring or if he just knows the Yankees are moving on from him. But it was almost like a goodbye to the fans and thank you for being so wonderful in New York. So I'm curious to see what happens there.
not my Tommy. Yeah. So, but the bullpen does need to get figured out a bit. I'm glad that Weaver is signed, sealed, and delivered. That was a no-brainer. I wasn't worried about that. So Gregory, I'm glad you brought this up because this gives me a great segue. So, so going back to Glaber for a second, there was an interesting comment from someone who watched our show during the week with the guys and put it in the comments on YouTube. And he said, let me share some fairly recent history of the Yankees who have lost 3 out of their last 4 World Series. In the mid-90s, the Yankees built their team through Columbus, their farm system, right up to the middle. Posada, Pettit, Jeter, Bertie Williams all came up through the farm. Then they added a player named Paul O'Neill, and that's how they did it. You just can't buy a World Series. And so, Gregory, that was just really, well timed. And yet, then there's rational Yankee fans on Twitter who says, yeah, and this is pro Glaber. I think Glaber Torres needs to be the Yankees' plan A, B, and C at second base next season. We'll regret trying to promote a prospect or sign a low-cost FA to fill that void. So Ciarra, there's your new best friend. Again, that's at Rational Yankee. Um, Torres' offensive production in front of Judge and Soto down the stretch was pivotal, and he shows up in October. So there you go. There are two lines of thinking, and the first one is correct. Also, we are not using our prospects, and so why is that? That over the years, and when we do use them, you don't see them. Jason just sat on that bench. So, our number one prospect brought up for zero reason. And so, you could think about, okay, what if he was around and Dookie sat and give him some time out there, but that didn't happen. And what if it did? That bat of his, like we've been saying so many times, if we could put the two of them together, it would be the perfect player. So, um, yeah, and so there's also just saying the Dodgers bought the series, but that's modern baseball. Well, that's the thing. It's all about the pockets and the deep pockets, and the Dodgers have their deep pockets. So FJ, yeah, we talked about this before we hopped on. Are we bringing Sevy back? Um, yeah, I think we all. Well, I'm not going to speak for the entire fan base. Sevy was beloved because he was one of those accountable, mad at himself all the time because he wasn't figuring stuff out. Went somewhere and figured something out, like so many others I could name. But yeah, he's gonna get picked up, but not by us. Um, and so, and John the Beagle Dad, hey, good to see you stopping in. Yeah, John, the fun has already begun. With Cole and Rizzo, and so let's talk about first base, and let's talk about Rizzo. First of all, do you think Rizzo's going to be picked up by any other team? Does anyone think that? What do you think, Ciarra?
I mean, yes. I think his injuries the last 2 seasons have set him back tremendously, but we're still talking about a guy with 4 Gold Gloves. He's not completely useless. He's just father time has caught up to the guy and he can't heal from his injuries. That's really all it comes down to. If he's healthy, he can hit the ball very well, and he's a very good first baseman. He's just slow when it comes to running the bases. But I don't know who would pick him up. But I think somebody will give him a short-term deal.
Yeah, Karen's saying no. Lori's saying bye. Not for 11 million. And hey, Lou, good to see you. No way. John's saying he's old. Um, and TC, yeah, Rizzo should retire. I kind of would love the idea of him retiring and coming back and working, for the Yankees. I would love to see him doing some of the coaching and filling in those holes there. Um, so so Rizzo, not a shocker. I think that was expected. To me, Cole was the big shocker, and I don't know why. Maybe it was because I was still sleepy when I read the news, but I was like, "Wow, Cole, really? You're choosing to leave us? How dare you?" Um, but it just doesn't make sense, and so I don't like large referrals like Otani, deferrals like Otani. A team can sign a ton of superstars that way. Yeah.
I
So
mean,
I
that's
think,
literally what the Dodgers did.
yeah. And so let's talk about the free agents that have the qualifying offers. Obviously, Soto. We have Bregman, Alonso, Burns, we talked about, and Fried, who kind of interests me. I wouldn't be mad at acquiring Fried as a starting pitcher for us. And Adames, no interest to the Yankees because we have Volpe and Teoscar or Hernandez. I don't think is the one to fill the outfield need. So Ciarra, you're the one that put this out. So what do you think about these free agents?
Um, I like the idea of Max Fried. I think we do need another starter.
Mm-hmm.
However, I really, really like the idea of Jack Flaherty. He will be a free agent, and he's under 30. Um, and I mean, he'll turn 30 next season, but like we don't have enough guys on the right side of 30, it feels like at this point on the Yankees. So I like the idea of Flaherty, but I don't hate the idea of Max Fried either. Honestly, anybody who comes to the Yankees is going to be injury prone, even if they weren't before. It's the Yankee way. So I don't even know what to do with, I get what Joe's saying, but at the same time, well, they're going to come here and
Yeah.
be injury prone.
Yeah, and at least at least from what I read, he came back from that injury, and really it was a change. It was a change the way he came back, and really did give high production after he came back this most recent time. Yeah, I'd like to get somebody new off the lot too, with all the bells and whistles. But like, yeah, Ciarra said, it's not the Yankee way. It's also a bit of a unicorn. So, and it's either that or, a risk, because you're literally going to nab a prospect and throw them right into a starting role. So, that always makes me uncomfortable. Um, so those are the big ones that, we'll know tomorrow about the QOs on. Um, and yeah, FJ saying that Freed would be a cheaper option than Burns. So there is that. And I think Burns himself has injury history as well. To your point here, I think it'd be hard to find one that didn't. Um,
Well, especially
so
in this era of baseball, pitching injury, like we're in a pitching injury epidemic. They're all getting injured. There's like an elbow epidemic out there right now, and I I don't know. So I don't think we can really find a way around it.
yeah, and so speaking of pitchers, let's talk about the ones with options. What do you think we're going to hear by tomorrow with with that Ciarra, with the options?
Uh, so I mean, well, first of all, congratulations to Luke Weaver. We did opt into his
Yes,
2025 club option, which I think was a good move by the Yankees. It's a cheap option, and Weaver proved that he has what it takes to be the closer, right? He's like a little psychopath, and I love him. Lou Trevino has a $5 million club option. However, I don't think the Yankees are going to exercise it because let's be honest, who even is the guy? He was
right.
injured for the past 2 seasons, so for me, it just makes sense for him to walk. We also have Jonathan Loaisiga as a free agent who could get the QO, but again, has been injured for the last 2 years.
That's right. Always
He's
injured.
Yankees might as well just get a whole new bullpen. Goodbye Trevino, goodbye Holmes, goodbye Hill. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going to go on Tommy Kahnle, so we'll have to see.
Yeah. So John the Beagle Dad said up above, we're definitely rebuilding. Um,
Which is insane. We just made the World Series, so it's crazy to even say those words. But like we have to. If you look at the team from an outsider's perspective, there are so many problems. I don't honestly with the problems we have, I can't even believe we made it to the World Series.
yeah. Lou's saying that Hill can stay. So I don't. I
Oh,
don't.
you know what? He's a free agent, but he wouldn't get the QL because he wasn't on the Yankees all season. So they
Right.
could sign him at a discount. They'll probably give him a bargain deal.
Yeah, he'll get a Weaver type deal maybe.
It's just
Um,
$3 million.
yeah, I would be all in on that. Because Hill was a very pleasant surprise. As far as I'm concerned. And we also don't know what who they're going to keep in there. Nestor, for example. What are we doing with Stroman? Who didn't even, for all I know, that was like an AI image of him coming off the plane in LA. We never saw the guy. And so I just don't what's their futures, because there have been issues
So
with both of them.
Stroman is under 3 years with us, right? He
Yeah,
doesn't have an opt out, and I
right.
don't see the Yankees trading him.
Mm-mm.
I truly believe that they, by not playing him at all in the World Series, putting him on the roster, they showed him that we don't trust you and you have a lot of work to do in the offseason.
Oh,
He's going to have to put in the work in the offseason and spring training and prove that he's worth the contract that he's on. He has to be the veteran and the leader in the clubhouse because he has the experience, right? Like he has the experience. You're 34. I mean, I just made that number up, but you're up there. We need you to be a leader. We can't
right,
have three 30-plus-year-old pitchers who are having meltdowns on the mound every other game because between Cole, Rodon, and Stroman, you don't know what you're going to get out of them emotionally. And then we have Heel, who has location issues, and then you have Clark Schmidt, who was arguably our best pitcher this season, but that injury definitely did something. The injury did something to him, and you saw it in the postseason. He can't get through the third time through the order. So again, holes everywhere. Even the starting rotation is a little insane.
right. Which is, I think, where John was coming from about the rebuild. I mean, they have to, and they also have to examine who they brought in, but we didn't see much of. And so let's remember, we
John
still have
Birdie.
Grisham. What?
John Birdie.
John Birdie, uh, Ellsbury. No, just kidding. Um, I was going to say also. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. It's easy
you
to
got
make that
you got
happen.
caught up. You got caught up in the Duke Ellington.
Yeah, it's Duke. Yeah, Duke Ellington, Duke Ellis, Grisham. Grisham's here another year, so right, or two even, maybe. I think maybe just one more year.
It's one
Um,
more year, and he's pretty
yeah,
cheap. So he's a cheap fourth option for the Yankees to have in the outfield. So he can continue to float around in the background.
yeah. And John, I honestly don't feel like we're losing most of the team. In some cases, it would be great to lose some of them, but I just think we have worries about Soto and Cole. At least for me, I'm worried about filling Soto and Cole, and if we have to fill those holes, and we have to talk about first base and what we're going to do there. I know Pete Alonso is not Mr. Popularity, and there's good reason for that. But we've also had guys come here that weren't so popular with fans around either because of their reputation. And so with him being available, I don't see why they wouldn't be looking at Alonso. Um, but at the same time, we do have those platooning guys, and you know, and Cabrera has done really well at first, as has Birdie. So David just might choose to keep the platooning going the way they did when Rizzo was out all that time. So I'm not so sure we were even looking for a first baseman, and to the point of how much Soto's going to cost. And yeah, FJ, they might have to let Soto go. I really feel like, and I don't think I'm in denial, although it's possible. I'm open to that. I think that he means enough to this team, that they will do what they've always done and get some spackle and fill in the holes, to keep him. They'll go low budget everywhere else so that they get him. It would have to go to such insane high ceilings that they get outspent, and they could get outspent. Even though we know they have more money than they portend to have. So I hope that they don't let him go. Um,
I don't. I think Soto will be here next season, but to your point, like you just said, we as fans have to realize that we might be hurting in other areas of the team. Because if we're putting all of our money into Soto, like that he's going for the highest contract. He's a great baseball player. I love the guy. He's been fantastic for the team clubhouse and the chemistry, but he's been very open about wanting money. And that scares me as a fan because I want to see a World Series win. Like, going to the World Series is not good enough. I want to see a victory. And somebody in the chat said it earlier. It took the Dodgers a few times of going to the World Series to finally win a World Series. I want that for the Yankees. I want to win a World Series. It's been 15 years since we've been. It was 15 years since we won. I'm not okay with just going this year and being done with it. If Soto stays, we can't afford Pete Alonso. We can't afford Burns, Fried, Flaherty, any of those big names.
Right.
So we will have to either roll with some of the guys we already have at cheaper deals, or the Yankees are going to have to pull up their bootstraps and learn how to develop the guys we have in AAA and get them up here.
Yep. Maybe we'll see Cody Petit.
I love him.
I said that for you. And so, yeah, so, I put some things up from Brad, about we'll have Stroman, third year invested this year after he reaches 140 innings. I'm not quite even sure that he reached those.
No, he has to reach 100. He has to reach 140 in 2025 to get the third year at 18 million in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like Stroman will reach that. That's why I'm saying he's on 3 years.
Right.
But he needs to prove that he can be a leader and actually do this and not like crap out halfway through the season.
And Lori's saying if Soto stays, Ben Rice is our first baseman. I kind of forgot about him. But and that does give us the more of the utility role, especially if, like the chat is begging for, is DJ, and that the Yankees really need to buy him out. With the money they're eating or will be giving away, will they buy him out?
I don't know. I honestly, God, I forgot DJ was even on the team. I thought he retired already.
Yep, I know. But the Yankees won't forget when they're adding up all the numbers.
But they've done it though. They did it with Josh Donaldson. They ate the money for other players. Just do it. Like, he's hurting us. Just get rid of him. He's taking up a spot that he can't use. Sorry.
Yeah, and so he's just he would just need to be on the bench all the time. There's no sense in, so they're going to be eating money one way or another, because they'd only use them if they absolutely have their platoon used elsewhere or overused, and they have to bring them in, or bring them in later in a game or something like that. But the majority of the time he's going to be getting splinters on his butt, and so one way or another you're holding on to something because of money, and you're not getting anything for it either way. Give DJ the Hicks treatment. That feels harsh, Lori, because they're so different from each other. DJ Hicks, I think everyone wanted to give the Hicks the treatment that he got, but this is a different scenario. DJ, has the hearts of most of the fan base, and was so so huge for us for a really long time. So I don't know. I think they're going to hold on to him. But
it's insane if you think about it, because if you look back to when we first signed DJ to this contract, most Yankees fans wanted that because he was coming off of that Silver Slugger award. He was coming off of that fantastic season. He was really good for us. In 2019, that was the year we almost went all the way because of DJ LeMahieu in the playoffs. But you know what? Certain teams like to cheat, so we won't talk about it. Whatever. He was huge for us. It's really sad to see how DJ's career has turned out the last 2 seasons. Again, like Rizzo, because of injuries. But with that being said, the Yankees either need to invest in a robotic foot for DJ so he can be useful, or they need to eat the money and let the guy retire.
Right. Yep. And clearly, if he had an opt-out clause, he'd be gone like Rizzo. So, that much is clear to me.
Yeah.
So, John's asking when when we expect to hear news about Soto signings or chatter? Well, John, the chatter's already begun, so the answer to that is, hours ago. And expect a long wait on Soto. And when Ciarra does this, she really has something to say. So go ahead, Ciarra.
This is what worries me about Soto. He is a Boras client. We watched how this played out last season for Boras clients. How long did Blake Snell sit and play video games on Twitch before he finally had a contract? That's what we're going to see with Soto. It's going to be a bidding war, and it's going to go down to the very last day. Like, I don't see Soto being there for day one of spring training for whatever team he's with. He's going to get the Blake Snell treatment. He's going to hold out for as long as possible until he gets as much money as possible. So I hope everyone's ready to buckle up because it's going to be a long ride.
Yep. And so we did talk about Doogie. I know that we're aligned, Ciarra, that I think Yankees will take a pass on him. The only thing that would keep him here to me is that, Judge made that clear to the ownership that he wanted Doogie brought over. And I don't know how much weight that carries anymore. I think Judge is in no position to make the level of demands that he made after the 62 season. But he is the captain, which is a whole other discussion that's interesting. But what do you think?
So even if Soto walks, I think Doogie walks just because his numbers every year have slowly declined. He probably had the worst OPS he's had in his career this season. And well, yes, he started to shine a little bit in the playoffs, which I thought he would do more because typically he is a playoff hitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the Yankees bringing him back because he's not productive. He's a great glove in left field, but he's not productive, and we need an outfield that can hit the ball and catch the ball. We need both.
Right. And Frederick is saying that yep, Birdie has shown to be a DJ now. I would agree with that. And Cabrera does not get enough field time. So I'm always, and I hear Lori about Rice. I think first base and third base have plenty of options. So I don't think there's going to be any money spent on the outside for them. And with Soto being a free agent, but he's saying Christmas. I think that would be a Christmas miracle, Frederick. But this one is going to be like the Shohei Ohtani and the getting Soto in the first place, like Ciarra just mentioned. It was literally down to like the minute before the deadline.
And it's going to hit at like 2 a.m. when you're sleeping. You're going to wake up to that John Heyman tweet, and you're going to be like, what the hell just happened?
Lou, that's a fair question. It's the big elephant in the room, right? How are we going to win without Judge? And we had Soto. So I think that Soto was advertised way too much as a power hitter, and obviously that didn't play out the way he did. What he is a clutch hitter. And what he is one of the few guys on the roster that doesn't swing at the first pitch unless he's goddamn sure that he's going to make contact. And he's so comfortable at the plate, and everybody talks about never really seeing that before. And so, I think that Soto got us further than we would have gotten it, or contributed to it, even though yes, he went long a couple of times. I'm not forgetting that, but he also and I don't have his OPS or anything in front of me, but and maybe it's comparative because so many guys didn't do the thing, and Judge is really the sore thumb here. But we've seen that in every postseason since he's joined, and so it's another, it's the opposite of Stanton. Somebody's light goes on in the postseason, and that's balanced by somebody else's light going off. So we have Stanton in this case, and we have Glaber in this case for lights going on, and Judge really darkens the room and just never figured it out.
Yeah, my heart broke for Stanton. He's 34. His window's closing. He deserves that World Series with the way that he performs in the postseason. He deserves a ring, and it broke my heart to not be able to get it for him. Judge, he gave us the glimmer of hope in Game 5. His bat woke up, but his defense suffered. So it has to be mental for him in the postseason because I don't understand the season that he just came off of. He will be the AL MVP, right? But that season's going to be tarnished because of the way he performed in the postseason. I don't understand how you play that well every single game. You're putting up video game numbers, but as soon as we flip to October 1st, you forget how to play baseball. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And it's stunning to me that we're so deep into like hot stove kind of conversations. We didn't even get a chance to take a nap between crying on Wednesday night and going right into the hot stove time. And so this is going to be just like the road to the World Series I said was always going to be a slog and hard. That's going to be, the way until spring training and beyond. So and so what is so Karen said something about Otani. They shine bright the whole season and Otani, it's a great example. Remember that whole brouhaha about Otani and Judge, and it was every image promoting the World Series.
It should have been Freddie Freeman and Giancarlo Stanton.
Absolutely. Well, that didn't work out. That didn't age well at all. And Frederick, you saw something up here and it was a little controversial, but it's been said on the Guys show as well. Judge was given captain position too soon. How do you feel about that, Ciarra?
Oh, I have so many mixed emotions about it because he does things in the clubhouse that make sense for a captain. Like when Marcus Stroman snapped at Gleyber Torres, Judge was like, "Hey, we don't do that here." And he and then Gleyber went and hit a home run that game and came back all proud, like, "Look at me, Papa Bear, I did it." Like you see moments like that from Judge, and that's what you want from your captain. And then you also see the 62 home run season. This season, the numbers he put up, he's putting up numbers that nobody has done since Barry Bonds. But then he gets to the postseason and he's not there. Your captain is now Giancarlo Stanton. And also, I think Stanton is a silent captain, by the way. And they finally mentioned it and gave him respect on the broadcast.
Yes.
He is the guy that these guys go to when they are struggling. As they should. He's a veteran. He has the experience. And look at the numbers the guy has put up in his career. He will go to the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely will.
So I don't know. I don't know what my answer is because regular season Judge does the things that a captain would do, and he's a leader in the clubhouse. Postseason Judge is a totally different answer. It's hard because I grew up watching Jeter. Jeter is what you want in a captain, beginning of the season to the end. Doesn't get in trouble in the off season. Doesn't bring like a big fuss around him. So it's hard to compare the two, I guess.
It is. It's apples and oranges, but and Joe, your trivia knowledge is chef's kiss. There are other captains and other legends in the Hall of Fame that also tank in the World Series, and so that's just a reminder that they are human beings and their mind goes blank. Does anyone remember taking a test that you studied so hard for and then you totally crapped out on it? So it happens. Your mind does take over. It has a way of doing that, and that's why I really feel like the kind of coach that would be doesn't exist. But they really need someone really paying attention to the fundamentals with these guys and coaching them one-on-one on that. And I'd really like it to be a former Yankee. There's plenty of them available, plenty of them swarming around closely with the team. Look at Pettit, look at Posada, look at look at, let's see, who was the other one that we saw a lot of?
Swisher.
Yeah. So I just think that that's not being paid enough attention to, and it costs the fundamentals is what really cost us the series. So it's going to matter, and good for Glaber for having good fundamentals. There, I said that for you. Okay, so I'm just we're going to start wrapping up, but it's time for a little bit of for the first time in a long time, some women in baseball news. I'm going to take the opportunity for those of you that didn't get to see what happened this past week. It was a huge week for women in baseball. First of all, Sunday night, everyone remembers still that there was no game, but MLB played a documentary in that time slot called See Her, Be Her. And it was a beautiful documentary that really followed the season of women from all around the world that were part of the World Cup Championship. There is a Women's World Cup Championship internationally, and it really delved into all of the barriers they face, and really just teaches a lesson also about how girls and women are still shepherded right away into softball and aren't deemed like worthy or capable for baseball. And also it just makes the point that nobody's wanting to join the men on the field, because I think that's nobody's looking to like face Cole at the mound, or get through that home run in the park when the best pitcher is pitching. No, they really want that literal league of their own. So right after that documentary, it was announced that there is now a newly formed women's professional baseball league. And it's going to be active in 2026, and they're starting with at least 6 teams in different regions throughout the country. They're going to start predominantly in the Northeast. I'm not mad at that since I live there. And so it has become a real thing with solid investments. And that's just really something that we've been waiting a really long time for, and it's going to take a long time to really become a thing, but really just wanted to mention that. And if you want to know more about See Her, Be Her, there's no information yet on how else to see the documentary, but it's seeherbeher.com. There's a book that goes deep into the history of women in baseball for you baseball historians out there. So I made a big mistake. I was so hot in front of the stove that I didn't even talk about Spencer's trivia question of the week, which was a little bit sad themed this week, this question, but I think it fits in with the theme because this was a sad week. So yeah, we're disappointed about the Yankees losing, but 25 years ago was a different story. The Yankees won their 25th World Championship to close out the 20th century in 1999 against the Braves. The 1999 team notably had 3 players on the roster who sadly lost their fathers during that year. So who were those 3 Yankee players who lost their father? And it was talked about. If you were around and remember 1999, you're probably going to get this answer. And so, yep. So Lori and Joe are trivia masters. I'm seeing some right answers there. And went backwards. Let me just get to the answer. Luis Soto, Scott Brocious, and Paul O'Neill. And Spencer's comment about that is that actually Paul O'Neill's father passed away the day the Yankees played Game 4 of the World Series and won the title. And O'Neill courageously played in the game and even celebrated with the Yankees on the field. So, wow, really sad question, but timely the way Spencer always is. And congrats to Lori, Karen, and Joe for weighing in correctly. And yeah, and thank you, Spencer, for the great question. So with that, just don't forget to like, share, and follow. Ciarra, what are your last words?
The Yankees broke my heart, but I still love them because I'm in a toxic relationship with them. And you know what, guys? It could be worse. We could be White Sox fans. So let's enjoy this offseason and see what it brings us because 2025, maybe we'll actually win the World Series.
Yes, and it pissed me off that I had to change my username on Twitter to 2825. It hurt to do that. I'm still mad. Those 7 stages of grief, I'm traveling through all of them at rapid speed. Still, it's going to sting for a while. It might even sting for forever because we're going to be reminded about this one more than the others in recent memory since 2009, and that's not easy to do. And they managed to do that at least. OMG, thank you so much. Yeah, we're very proud to be one of the few women only Yankees content creators, and so we thank our Pinstripe Chronicles organization for allowing us to do that, and that's why women belong in baseball at all levels in all ways, and that was really the mission here when we started this show. So thank you so much for that acknowledgement. That really made my day. So as always, you have a reserved seat here with Ciarra and me right here on the upper deck, and let's just go get what we need to get.